So next up, we have Martyn and Karl, who are going to be talking about cross-media measurement. So cross-media has become a really hot topic of late. The World Federation of Advertisers and some of the world's biggest advertisers, including P&G and Unilever, have all come together to create a conversation around why the industry needs to move better to that media measurement. I think we all know that we've got industry bodies that represent particular channels that maybe only do that rather than think about cross-collaboration. So I'm really looking forward to this next conversation. So Martyn is the Commercial Director of AudienceProject, and Karl Ward is the Marketing Effectiveness Manager at Direct Line. So over to you guys.
Good morning or good afternoon. Yes, thanks for the introduction, Paul. Very pleased to be here with Big Karl Ward. The title is Cross-Media Measurement, Something to be Cross About, 5 minutes with a Big Marketer. We were going to make a hilarious visual joke in the studio before COVID and the lockdown, so we're going to attempt to do that now. So Karl is our big marketer. Hello, Karl.
Hi, everybody.
There we go. A comedy about our respective sizes. So, Karl, thank you very much for joining us. Before we get into it, could you just tell us quickly who you are and what you do, please?
It's just a bit of a dating profile, I kind of feel. So my name's Karl Ward. As previously mentioned, I am a Marketing Effectiveness Manager at Direct Line Group. And for the comedy purposes, I'm 5'3". So there you are.
Brilliant. And is there a surprising fact about yourself before we get into the real business stuff?
I think one of my favourite facts is I was working for a post-production house straight out of university. Where I helped actually edit a bit of Rock and Roller, one of the Guy Ritchie films. And one Christmas party, we drunkenly had a great, intelligent conversation at the urinals, which was really, really good fun.
Brilliant. Well, that might come up in the questions at the end. So, as a big marketer at DLG, what media do you primarily use?
At Direct Line, and of course Direct Line, all brands, Direct Line, Churchill and Green Flag as well, we focus around linear TV. Historically, that's what's performed best for us from an econometrics perspective. We also use radio, we dabbled a little bit in digital display, but times are changing, the world is changing, consumption is changing, and so we're actually starting to use a lot more video on demand, like YouTube and BVOD as well.
Right, okay, so getting into cross-media measurement, you don't strike me as a very cross person, but with those different media selections, and no real currency in existence, are you cross about cross-media measurement? What's your experience of it so far?
We're not as cross as we probably were this time 2 years ago. We've started to do a lot more work with AudienceProject. We've done some really good work with Ubiquity on the same kind of subject, where we've tried to amalgamate and measure everything that we are doing. We've trying to put together our digital display, our social, our TV, to really get to understand the incremental reach that each of our media lines are driving. And I think it's key. It's not just about incremental reach, it's actually about effective incremental reach and what actually works.
Yeah. Have you had any sort of key learnings from it that have been useful to the business so far, Karl, in the way you've managed to do so far?
Oh, absolutely. So we've started to really get under the hood of which ones drive the quick reach the fastest, which ones have the greatest engagement, the longest attention, which media lines will work the hardest, and which ones we kind of need differently about. Think how to use them slightly differently. But I think the key thing really is that we focus around, the transparency and what, having everybody being open to these third-party pixels, so we can truly measure everything all together and really understand the consumption of all the media lines together. It's been hard to do in the past, but we've now got the tech there to be able to do it really well.
That's great. And as an industry, because there's a lot of initiatives going on, and Paul mentioned the WFA, which kind of is being borne out in the UK through Project Origin. I think you guys are part of that. Have you What's your thinking around that process at the moment of trying to bring everyone together, and I suppose the transparency thing comes up as well?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's key. It's a start, and getting those conversations together and having those conversations across the industry, across all the publishers, the broadcasters, to get together and help advertisers understand what's driving what and how we work together, really. Because we at DLG, if something isn't working, or if we can't prove that it does work, we will avoid it. We won't invest in that media line, and that will hurt everybody moving forward.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're out of time, Karl. Really appreciate you joining us today, and thanks for having us mad anywhere.
Thank you both. Good to see you again, Martyn, and thank you, Karl. I have a question for you. Like, from the work you're doing around cross-media and effectiveness, are there any particular media channels or lessons around media channels working together that you've started to pull out that were surprising?
To Karl, yeah?
To Karl, yeah.
So I suppose working together, we've started to see actually that YouTube can work really well with, in terms of incremental reach on top of linear TV. We've always kind of seen that radio and TV and a number of the lines, will work together and we'll pull everything together. But at the moment, TV for us is still king. It still drives the greatest reach. It still drives the greatest engagement. And that's where we still see the greatest results in terms of econometrics.
Great. And maybe a question for the both of you. As TV, I mean, we've seen in a couple of presentations the power that TV has for attention and everything else, but TV is obviously changing. It's becoming more targetable. Potentially you can reduce waste with connected TV. How do you think about it? Do you think that actually the reach and potentially some of the wastages are positive, or are you excited about being able to become more focused in where the TV spend goes? And for either of you.
Well, I think in digital, I just cut in a little bit. In digital, I don't think wastage is sort of seen in the same way as it could be in traditional TV, because it can also be an opportunity. And that's going to be very useful if those audiences can have their value sort of defined for the buyers as well through the addressability that might be there.
And from my perspective, I think it really depends on the objective of the campaign. If you're brand building, then it's not really wastage. It's more of you're looking at it in the long-term aspect. Whereas if you a really short-term acquisition, then yes, that wastage is wastage.
Great. Well, good points, guys. Unfortunately, we run out of time, but appreciate the dynamic duo joining us for this chat.